What if the biggest moment in House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 5 isn't the Battle of Tumbleton, but the betrayal that could happen before the first dragon even attacks? The new trailer hides far more than explosions and armies. It quietly hints that Rhaenyra may be losing control. Aemond is far from finished, and one secret could destroy the Blacks from the inside when they can least afford it. And if those clues are real, the war you're expecting might not be the one that's actually about to happen. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. This trailer feels completely different from the previous ones. Instead of asking who's going to win, it's asking who can still trust the people standing beside them. Personally, I think that's a much more dangerous question, because kingdoms don't usually fall when enemies become stronger. They fall when allies stop believing in each other. Right from the opening shots, we see Sir Criston Cole leading his exhausted army toward the Riverlands. But this isn't the same confident commander we've seen before. His soldiers don't look fearless. They look tired, frustrated, and mentally drained. That's important because battles aren't only decided by numbers, they're decided by morale. Once an army starts losing hope, every mile forward feels heavier than the last. Criston tries to inspire his men, but honestly, their faces tell a different story. They aren't marching because they believe victory is close. They're marching because turning back is no longer an option.
And that alone tells us how desperate the green side has become. But while the Greens are struggling to stay together, Rhaenyra is changing as well. One line immediately stood out to me. "My patience has its bounds." That doesn't sound like someone trying to negotiate anymore. It sounds like a ruler who's finally reaching the end of her restraint. Think about everything she's dealing with. She has the Iron Throne, but peace still feels completely out of reach. Every day brings another problem, another betrayal, another impossible decision. At some point, even the strongest leaders stop asking what the safest choice is and start asking what has to be done. And I think that's exactly where Rhaenyra is heading. But here's where the trailer becomes really interesting. We see flames tearing through tents while bodies lie across the battlefield. Most people immediately assume it's teasing the Battle of Tumbleton. That could absolutely be true. But what if those flames represent something much bigger than a single battle? What if they're showing the cost of Rhaenyra finally abandoning patience? Sometimes one decision creates consequences that spread much further than the battlefield itself. If she chooses force over caution, she might win territory while losing the support of the people she's trying to protect. And honestly, that's the kind of political trap this series loves to build. Wait, let me go back to another moment because I think it's one of the biggest clues hidden in the trailer. Rhaenyra looks directly at Alicent and asks, "Have I not shown you mercy?" That's such a simple line, but it carries so much emotion.
It almost sounds like Rhaenyra is reminding Alicent that she's already done more than anyone expected. But what if Alicent has simply reached the point where she has nothing left to offer? Over the last few episodes, we've watched her family slowly fall apart. Every decision has cost her something. Every attempt to fix the situation has only made things worse. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if Episode 5 becomes the moment where Alicent emotionally checks out of the entire conflict. And if that happens, Rhaenyra could lose one of the few people who still understands both sides of this war. Then the trailer quietly shifts toward Aegon, and honestly, this might be one of the saddest scenes we've seen all season. He's sitting completely alone, looking like a man who's forgotten what hope even feels like. This isn't the arrogant king who believed the throne belonged to him. This is someone who's been stripped of almost everything. His power is gone, his confidence is gone, even his future feels uncertain. But here's the part I can't stop thinking about. What if this is exactly where Aegon's real story begins? Some of the most dangerous characters aren't the ones sitting on thrones. They're the ones who have absolutely nothing left to lose. I'm going to lock in a prediction here. I still don't believe we've seen the end of Sunfire. The trailer avoids confirming anything, and shows rarely stayed this mysterious unless they're protecting a major reveal. Imagine everyone believing the dragon is gone, only for Sunfire to return during the middle of the coming battles. That wouldn't just surprise the audience, it would completely change the balance of the war overnight. And then comes another huge reveal. Aemond is alive. and judging by the trailer, he's ready to fight again. That immediately raises one massive question. Where has he been all this time? Because disappearing during a war isn't always a weakness. Sometimes it's the smartest move on the board. What if Aemond has been waiting for everyone else to expose their plans before making his next move? If that's true, then the Blacks may be preparing for one battle, while Aemond is preparing for something much bigger. And honestly, that's a terrifying thought. But even with all of those moments, I still think the trailer's biggest mystery hasn't been answered yet, because someone else is carrying a secret that could completely destroy Rhaenyra's trust. And the longer that truth stays hidden, the more dangerous it becomes, because that secret leads us directly to Daemon. And honestly, I don't think he's walking into episode 5 with a clear conscience. The trailer only gives us a few seconds of him, but sometimes that's all you need. When Daemon says they should have burned them when they had the chance, it doesn't sound like a battle strategy. It sounds like regret. He's looking back at a decision he believes changed everything. But here's the problem. While he's warning everyone about missed opportunities, he's hiding one of the biggest truths himself.
He knows far more than Rhaenyra does, and if that truth finally comes out, the damage won't just be political. It'll be deeply personal. What if the biggest betrayal of the season doesn't come from an enemy at all? What if it comes from someone Rhaenyra trusts the most? That's the kind of twist this show loves to build toward, and the trailer keeps quietly pointing us in that direction. Meanwhile, another player continues making moves from the shadows, Lord Ormund Hightower. One of the most interesting lines in the trailer comes when he talks about a clever man defeating even the fiercest beast. That tells us everything about how he views this war. He isn't trying to overpower dragons. He's trying to outthink the people riding them. And honestly, that's what makes him such a dangerous opponent. Dragons can destroy armies, but they can't fix bad decisions. Ormund knows that if he forces Rhaenyra into making one emotional mistake, she could hand him the advantage without him ever winning a fair fight. Personally, I think Tumbleton was never meant to be just another battlefield. It was designed to become a trap from the very beginning. But here's where things become even more dangerous. The trailer spends just enough time showing Hugh Hammer and Ulf to make you wonder why they're being highlighted again. That can't be a coincidence. Over the past few episodes, we've watched tiny moments of frustration, hesitation, and disagreement slowly build around them. None of those moments seemed important by themselves, until now. Suddenly, they feel like warning signs.
What if the real battle isn't between the Blacks and the Greens? What if it's between loyalty and ambition? Imagine preparing for the biggest fight of the season, while secretly wondering whether your own dragon riders will still be fighting beside you before the day is over. That's the kind of uncertainty that destroys kingdoms from the inside. Wait, let me go back to one more scene, because I think almost everyone will overlook it. We briefly see Rhaenyra still separated from everyone else, while Sheepstealer flies through the skies. It's a quiet moment compared to everything else happening in the trailer. But sometimes the quietest moments carry the biggest consequences. Her story hasn't disappeared, it's been paused, and those are two very different things. What if Rhaenyra returns at exactly the wrong moment? What if the truth surrounding her reaches Rhaenyra just as the Battle of Tumbleton begins? Suddenly, the queen isn't only dealing with an enemy army, she's dealing with betrayal, grief, and impossible choices all at the same time. That's the kind of emotional pressure that changes leaders forever. Then the trailer shifts back to Criston Cole as the battle finally starts taking shape. We see soldiers charging, arrows raining across the battlefield, smoke filling the air, and chaos spreading in every direction. It looks incredible, but what really stood out to me wasn't the action, it was the expressions on everyone's faces. Nobody looks confident anymore. Nobody looks certain. Every single character seems to understand that this battle will cost them something they can never get back.
And honestly, that's what makes this feel bigger than any battle we've seen so far. It's not just about who survives, it's about who they're going to become after it's over. The final shots only make that feeling stronger. Daemon charges forward without hesitation. Ormond watches the battlefield with complete focus. Aemond looks ready to step back into the war. And somewhere behind all that chaos, hidden secrets are still waiting to explode. That's why I don't think Episode 5 is simply setting up an action-packed spectacle. I think it's setting up the moment where every storyline from the first half of the season finally collides. Every regret, every lie, every hidden motive, every broken relationship, all of it is heading toward the same place. And once those pieces collide, there's no going back. Before we finish, here's a quick recap. Kristen Cole is leading an army that's running on determination instead of confidence. Rhaenyra appears ready to stop waiting and start fighting back. Daemon is carrying a secret that could change everything if it's exposed. Ormund continues proving that strategy can sometimes be more dangerous than dragons. Hugh Hammer and Ulf remain two of the biggest wildcards heading into Tumbleton. Aemond's return instantly changes the balance of power, and Rhaenyra's hidden story still feels like a ticking bomb waiting for the perfect moment to explode.
In my opinion, the Battle of Tumbleton won't be remembered because it was the biggest fight. It'll be remembered because it changes the people fighting it. So now, I want to hear from you. What's your biggest prediction for Episode 5? Do you think betrayal will hurt Rhaenyra more than the battle itself? Or will Tumbleton completely reshape the future of the Dance of the Dragons? Drop your theory down in the comments because I'd love to read what you think. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another epic breakdown video. I will catch you in the next one.